This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Whoa, what's going on, DIStory fans? It's Dan here with the 100th episode of DIStory Dan! So for the 100th episode, I thought I would honor something very near and dear to my heart and a big part of why my career has been what it is to this day, the Muppets.
Dad, what's a Muppet?
Well, it's not quite a mop, and it's not quite a puppet, but man... So to answer your question, I don't know.
You guys really love my Muppet histories, and so I thought, hey, let's do arguably the world's most famous Muppet. That's right, Elmo. A character with a real wild history, guys. Should I just wear this the whole episode again? I'm kind of enjoying, the whole Dan in costume. Or should I just keep it like the guys in Times Square on a smoke break? This is the most healing costume I've ever worn. Thanks, HalloweenCostumes.com. All right, I'm gonna commit. 1979 gave us the first appearance of our favorite little red monster friend in episode 1904 in a segment called We're All Monsters.
You don't look like me.
And they don't look like me.
Pretty jarring. It's pretty jarring hearing Elmo talk like that. El Monster, as we will call him for now, was one of the quartet of rather recognizable monsters from Sesame Street history that did a regular sort of sing-along song type gig. El Monster was really nothing more than just an unnamed whatnot Muppet at this point, a type of puppet created by the team to be a background actor in scenes that need world building and extra characters, but you don't want to use up the main cast. So surprisingly, because of this, El Monster started out with a low, typical kind of like monster growly voice.
We are very near to you.
Far as where we are.
One thing you can really pick up on here in his first appearance is just how little Elmo has changed over the years. He's a basic football head-shaped puppet design with a plush fur, two basic white eyes, and a big round orange nose. His overall design stays mostly the same. His fur might get a little thicker or thinner here and there, but the key thing I want to focus on in this overall character development is the history and the performers who puppeteered Elmo.
Hi, Elmo. I see you got the letter H here, huh?
El Monster bizarrely gets his name for the first time in a strange sequence with the letter H within the same season of his debut.
The sound that the letter H makes is... That's it.
Elmo just kind of like... He's super weird. So, from here on out, Elmo begins to find footing as a regular background monster in the show. His main gimmick is essentially sounding out words letter by letter, and he did this a lot. His toddler breathy energy is just like in its infancy. The character really being one note. Elmo is just like a one note kind of like gag at this point in the show's history. It would take nearly a decade from this point for Elmo to really find his voice. Don't mind me, it's just Elmo scratching his nose through his mouth. You get it. This is one of the most healing things that I've ever done. As more scenes were being written for Elmo, he really needed a more dedicated performer, so he was given to staff puppeteer Brian Muehl. Brian had been performing Barkley the dog at this point. You know Barkley the dog, everyone loves that darn dog. Previously, he had been working with the crazy group Mum and Shants. Remember these guys from the Muppet Show? So he was more of like a physical full body performer, and Elmo was one of his first big breaks into like voicing a puppet. His initial characterization of Elmo was very breathy, like a caveman monster in a way, slowly being taught language and social skills. Sort of like Encino Man.
Where's the juice? No, wheezing the juice. No, wheezing the juice.
But he slowly began appearing in more and more episodes, and it was only a matter of time before he got noticed. Once Brian left the company, Elmo was passed on to legendary Muppet performer Richard Hunt. Scooter from The Muppet Show, hey boss, you know that guy? The puppet was rebuilt for this new 1984 season, so you can see how he has much crazier fur now versus the previous slicked down look. His eyes and nose got tweaked a little bit with bigger pupils and a brighter orange nose. He was really being designed to be like camera focused, which is a great like transition from his previous like background role.
Hello, I'm Elmo. I want to play.
With the new performer, a new sort of character started to emerge. Elmo's communication improved and he was able to speak, but in a really stunted way. And he comes across like bizarrely stupid. Like, I don't know. It's not like an innocent sort of character, but more of like an alien, like visiting our planet being like, ooh, what is this? You call this a monster? Interesting. Ooh, you know, like, yeah, Dan's drinking Monster behind the scenes. Watermelon flavor. They're 3 for $7 at Wawa right now. Now, legend has it that on one faithful day, Richard Hunt was just like fed up with the character. And so Richard like went to the green room one day and just like threw the puppet at a guy hanging out in the green room by the name of Kevin Clash. And the world would never be the same. I really love Elmo saying dramatic things like, and the world would never be the same. Kevin Clash is the father of modern Elmo. He was able to capture a new spirit and energy with this little red monster by injecting a sort of like joyful innocence and curiosity into like an elevated caveman Elmo.
You're right! Elmo can't play breakfast game.
Right.
Yes. Already eat breakfast. You have to play alone. Sorry. Bye-bye.
He was a much more grounded toddler this way because toddlers aren't stupid, they're curious. And that's what Kevin was really able to impart with his Elmo performance. And like, you know, it wasn't like oddly defensive like previous Elmo was. Like this was very like open and like loving and wanted to see the world.
Ooh! Ah, gotcha! Ooh, go, Big Bird! Go, Big Bird!
Okay, now don't let him go.
Now, Kevin cites this episode as when he first finds the voice of the character. You can almost witness it happening in real time throughout the story. Episode 2096 is the 17th season of Sesame Street's kickoff premiere episode, and it's a rather special episode because it's the big Snuffleupagus reveal episode. Everyone remember this? This was like a big one, guys. This was a big episode for a lot of reasons. Here, Elmo begins to refer to himself in the third person, an iconic staple of his character to this day, and we start to get that like Elmo giggle, that like iconic like laugh that we all love so much. And like you really start to see everything about modern Elmo sort of blossom in this episode. Within a year of Kevin working Elmo, the character had grown quite popular, enough that he had hit the road with the rest of the gang in Sesame Street Live, which had been running for quite some time at this point. Elmo's live debut as a walk-around character has him in this hilariously sort of meta storyline where he has new sneakers and likes to run around in them. A puppet finally gets legs. Aw, you know? I love this. I don't love this. And Elmo in human proportions, as you can see, is a little chaotic. Specifically like gymnast Elmo, like jumping jacks and cartwheels Elmo. Yeah, it's a little weird. It's a little weird, honestly. But these costumes are cool because they have articulated head sculpts. These characters have mouths that open and close. And to achieve that, they had simple bike brake type mechanics in the palm of the gloves of the character so that when they're squeezed, the mouth would open and close. So if you really pay attention to a lot of the performances, you can see at least one of their hands is acting pretty erratically as they're moving it about with the choreography, and that's to get the mouth to flap. But honestly, all I see is naked Elmo in sneakers. Now, Elmo would go on to have several of his own live shows throughout the years, and by and large, his performance, character, live costume does not change much. Like, it's very straightforward. It's just a red monster with that iconic sculpted head, just naked Elmo. It's just naked Elmo. Did any of you see Elmo's live shows? We had Elmo's coloring book, Elmo's green thumb, Elmo's healthy heroes, just to name a few. Let me know in the comments which Elmo shows you saw out there live on the road. After 12 years of being Elmo-less, Sesame Place finally fixed that in 1992. Elmo took Sesame Place by storm, jumping into parades, live shows, and meet and greets. The walk-around costume, much like the puppet Elmo, is so wildly simple that it's, perfect. I don't know what to tell you. Like, the Elmo is like one of these characters that I rarely cover that, like, he shows up and he's like ready. He's like perfect, and they don't need to change him at all. It's very similar to the Elmo we saw during all of the live performances on tours, but a little bit more fluffed up because it's not like a acrobatic dancing costume. It's more of a meet and greet sort of hug costume. So he's fluffy and cute. Okay, Dan. So everyone loves Elmo. Toddlers, babies, kids. How did Elmo, an otherwise simple-minded puppet character from a children's show, become a superstar overnight, like a pop culture icon? Well, you really have to thank Kevin Clash's absolute magnificent ability to improv with celebrities. He was on like every talk show for a hot minute. Emerald, Tony Danza, Martha Stewart. Elmo was appearing everywhere and crushing. He was the perfect guest. But in my opinion, there was one talk show above all that really made Elmo a superstar: Rosie O'Donnell. It's time to talk about Tickle Me Elmo. You knew it was coming. At the peak of Elmo stardom, Rosie featured the doll on her 1996 Christmas wishlist episode, and by Thanksgiving of that same year, the toy was completely sold out. Gone. Wiped off the shelves. After Elmo had climbed to the very top of pop culture food chain, it was inevitable that some sort of chaos was going to break out, and let me tell you something, chaos broke out. Tickle this, you know what I mean? The ensuing Tickle Me Elmo shortage was nothing short of earth-shattering for parents around the world. I think Whoopi Goldberg puts it best when she was on Rosie during, amidst all the chaos.
This Tickle Me Elmo thing has gotten a little out of hand.
A black market for these toys developed overnight, with one parent reportedly paying $7,000 for one. Yikes, guys. People were fighting. It was pure chaos in stores. I love it. And my favorite thing about this toy is honestly its inventors, a pair who first invented a giggling, wiggling monkey toy that no one cared about. So they licensed this sort of wiggly giggly toy to Warner Brothers to make a Tasmanian Devil wiggly giggly toy that no one cared about. So Tickle Me Elmo was this toy's third attempt to kind of go somewhere, and surprisingly, it worked. In 1998, the structure of Sesame Street was fundamentally changing, and Elmo was its new star. He got his own regular dedicated segment on the show called Elmo's World, which took us into the childlike mind of Elmo. At this point in Sesame Street's life, tests showed that really young audiences weren't really keeping engaged and were dropping off about 40 minutes into the hour-long episodes. So the strategy was developed to put a really young audience segment at the end of each episode to help recapture the 3-year-old's attentions, and let me tell you something, it worked. What a really fascinating move into child psychology. The crayon doodle department, complete with Dorothy the fish and of course the Noodle family, would explore simple topics with joyful Elmo every episode. Eventually, we got our own dedicated Elmo World live at Sesame Place. How cool is this? A very clever idea by the Sesame brand for some integration with a very, very popular segment from their show. This ran for 10 years, this Elmo's World thing. Huge cultural icon for Elmo stans. I think it came back. It came back for a hot second, Elmo's Wonderful World. But nothing beats the original, Get out of here, new Coke Elmo. Give us classic Coke Elmo. I, of course, have to quickly mention the infamous Baby Elmo that appeared in 2006 Sesame Street's Beginnings series. It's Baby Elmo on a toilet. We get to meet Baby Elmo, we get to meet Elmo's dad. Who doesn't love this? Who doesn't love an Elmo family? And I'm sure you've all seen that gif of Elmo pooping, and now you know where it came from. Okay, here's where we gotta talk about them. Times Square Elmos. The chaos of these guys that seemingly sprung up overnight in Times Square because Elmo lives in New York, right? So when you're like an international tourist going to New York, you see Elmo in Times Square, it makes sense. It makes sense, you know? Elmo, Spider-Man, Transformers, all of these things kind of work with the New York locale. And by 2014, these guys had become so aggressive in Times Square that like legislation had to be passed and the government had to step in to like do something about it. These news segments are like absolutely unhinged. It's like insane listening to them talk about Elmo or like Cookie Monster in this way. There was a hot second where there was like an anti-Semitic Elmo. Yikes, guys. Like, I'm sure you guys have had a lot of experiences with Times Square costume characters, and I would love to hear your stories. So make sure you leave me comments down below or across any of the holy social medias because, wow. And if you really want to be your own Times Square Elmo, like I'm living my life right now, head on over to HalloweenCostumes.com. Use the link in the description of this video or over on thedisneydan.com to get 15% off this very Elmo costume and live your own Times Square life. Ask people for $1, take a picture with them. You know, you're a king when you're dressed like Elmo. I just gotta say, you know, no one messes with an Elmo until they do. In the 2000s, Elmo entered his theme park licensing era, and while nothing really remarkable changed about his walk-around costume, it ended up literally around the world. From Spain's Port Aventura to Japan's Universal Studios, not to mention a worldwide licensing of Sesame Place to other countries like Mexico, which BT Dubs has a similar Disneyland layout with a castle at the center of its park, unlike Sesame Place in America, and the castle at the middle of its park counts castle. How genius is that, guys? I gotta tip my Elmo hat to you, sir. Very clever, Mexico's Sesame Place. Elmo's walkarounds can now pretty much be found everywhere. You can like see them everywhere. They're at SeaWorld for crying out loud. But one thing that I do like about theme park Elmo is Elmo in costumes. You know, like, you know, Busch Gardens, a lot of places put Elmo in some very, very cute costumes. And I love a costume character like with a themed holiday overlay. Starting in season 43, Elmo took over the show in a completely new way. This was a retooled version of the canceled Elmo's World with a specialized segment at the end of the episode. Like, remember that similar format. This was a new show, Elmo the Musical. I love this thing. Honestly, as a theater kid, I live for this. The stage of it all. There's a curtain character Muppet that's so freaking cute. And I just love, you know, musical indoctrination. Like, you can't go wrong with that. Like, sing all the musicals, children. But the joy of Elmo the Musical was unfortunately cut short by some rather shocking controversy. Elmo, look away. All right, I had to there's nothing silly about this. This is actually tragic.
If you have children in the room who are fans of Elmo, you might want to usher them out of the room for this next story. It's about the man who is the voice behind Elmo. His name is Kevin Clash, and he officially resigned from Sesame Street today after a second allegation of sexual abuse was made against him.
Kevin Clash, at the peak of his Muppet career, fell rather hard with a scandal overnight, and it felt like Elmo was going to essentially disappear. We had just seen this amazing Elmo documentary come out where everyone fell in love with Elmo and Kevin. We had just entered Elmo becoming essentially the star of Sesame Street, and Kevin Clash was effectively controlling the show behind the scenes as like a showrunner. It was pretty devastating all around, and a rather sad full circle for Kevin Clash. Remember that first episode I told you that Elmo found his voice? Well, it's a rather special episode for a completely different reason than Elmo. In response to a rather disturbing string of child crime at the time, it was decided that having adults on Sesame Street not believing Big Bird about his special imaginary friend and all the fun that they were having was a really bad example to set, and really opened up the door for potential victims of grooming or assault for kids. And Sesame Street really took a stand by changing the entire dynamic of Snuffleupagus to be something that all adults could see and believe. And at the center of that message, bizarrely, was Elmo, was Kevin's version of Elmo finding his voice in this iconic character that all these years later, he fell victim of himself. It's incredibly tragic, and I am so saddened by this, and my heart goes out to all of the victims of it. It's insane. It's insane. Now, at the end of the Kevin Clash controversy, it was Ryan Dillon, an extremely talented puppeteer, who was the performer that was selected to kind of take over Elmo. And wow, what a miracle Ryan Dillon did with this character, because let me tell you something, one of the single most seamless transitions of a puppet character that we have seen from performer to performer since like Kermit and Steven Whitmire. You all know Ryan Dillon. You likely have seen him on YouTube in the incredible viral video from Wired at all the puppeteers from Sesame Street talking about how their puppets work. And Ryan is front and center with that. And he debuted Elmo, believe it or not, at the Easter egg White House egg roll, where all the Muppet characters very often show up. And so, you know, Ryan was sort of like thrust into the scene and very successfully took over the character like overnight. I'm really proud of Ryan. His characterization is wonderful. And a fun Disney Dan fact, I actually have worked with Ryan in the past. In my Broadway debut with John Tartaglia's Imagination, the puppet musical, I was performing alongside Ryan right before all of this happened and sort of witnessed his rise into this iconic role. And so hats off to you, dude. You're iconic, and I love your new Elmo. It really fills my heart with absolute joy. It is a new kind of chaos brought to the character that only you could have delivered. Thanks, man. Okay, I guess we can go back into the silly stuff now, right? Okay, I'm in my safe space. Can I leave the gloves off? Sure, why not? In 2014, at the height of me raising my first toddler, I fell in love with Elmo all over again when he went international. He was imported to the UK for a brand new Furchester hotel show, a really fun British Sesame Street spin-off that took the Muppets into running a hotel filled with wacky guests and all sorts of problems, you know, like wacky hotel problems. Honestly, this feels so much like the Muppet Show to me. It brought me so much joy. Just a bunch of insanity of puppets contained into a very specific location with like back rooms and hallways and just all the sort of fun we had with the original Muppet Show. I highly recommend you guys check this out if you have not heard of it, seen it, experienced it. It's just British Sesame Street, you know, with all that British humor.
It's good timing, isn't it? Telling me that today, the day of laughter. That's that ruined, isn't it? That's what I was little pockets and everything.
So in 2020, Elmo got a talk show? And yeah, I mean, I guess it's sort of inevitable, you know? He essentially got his fame being a talk show guest, so in a lot of ways it really works. And Ryan, at this point, had grown so much with the character, becoming a really top-notch improviser with celebrities, politicians, really anyone. So, you know, an Elmo on HBO late night was something I never thought I'd see, but I'm sort of glad we got it. You know, it's cute, it's fun, you know? I love seeing a Muppet behind like a Tonight Show desk. It just feels right, you know, like the Muppets kind of got their start, you know, with Tonight Show business, and to see Elmo hosting a late night show, hilarious. DIStory Dan's on its 100th episode, and I have to say a big special thanks to one of my consistent sponsors on this channel, today's video sponsor, Squarespace. You guys have been clearly making websites, so I really appreciate the fact that you're clicking on the links, making cool sites super easily, and supporting me. When I needed to create a website for all my great Disney Dan content, I was able to find an amazing template from their huge library of web designs. With Squarespace's flexible professional website templates, I was able to customize my look, update content, and add features that fit all my needs. Plus, it looks incredible across all types of devices. Check out how detailed you can get. I just changed the footer of my website from this wiggly block thing to this vibey lava lamp thing. It has excellent vibes. If you just want a vibe, just come to the bottom of my new website. But it gets even better thanks to their next generation website design system, Fluid Engine. It's truly mind-blowing because it's like a drag and drop website design system that you can use on web or mobile. I can customize like every detail. Create a community on your Squarespace website with fully integrated commenting systems that support threaded comments, replies, and likes. Use their powerful blogging tools to categorize, share, and schedule your posts too. Look, Squarespace is honestly so easy. A 3-year-old red furry monster with limited vocabulary could essentially have AI build their entire website for them. I mean, like, it's kind of crazy. So if a toddler monster can use it, what are you waiting for? Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/DisneyDan to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Amazing. Thanks for watching, guys. I had a blast doing this history of Elmo. Make sure you head over to my brand new podcast, Fun, where I am going to have a special 100th DIStory Dan episode talking about a lot of the great episodes I've done in the past, kind of like a retrospective, and also talking about Elmo, of course. I had a blast with all of you. Thanks for all your comments, likes, and subscribes. Head on over to all of my holy social medias and my Patreon to get exclusive access to all of these episodes early, plus other bonus things, and chatting with me in my Discord. Guys, you're all the best. I'm really so grateful that I'm here at 100 episodes, and I can't wait, honestly, for the next 100 episodes. I have so many more costume characters in store for you guys to see, and all the evolutions of. Plus, I want to know what you guys want to see me do. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what characters you want to see a deep dive history of, about their real life presence. I'm honestly just so grateful. I'm really grateful. This has been a really amazing experience, and you all made it happen. Thanks for watching, you guys. You rock.